Hi and welcome to the channel. Today the main news in my view is the Epstein affair. Is this the biggest case of the decade, the century, or of all time, in your opinion? You've surely seen this story going around about the resemblance between Epstein and Andrew Jackson on that banknote. Are those kind of people eternal? I don't know, it seems pretty far-fetched to me. People who look alike exist everywhere, in every era. I don't believe in immortality either, but living more than 100 years, or even several centuries, that doesn't seem impossible to me. Firstly, I feel it. I find that our bodies wear out far too quickly compared to our consciousness. We would need much more time to acquire a minimum of wisdom and be able to use it wisely. But also biblical stories speak of it at length, Noah, etc. To live longer in these troubled times, there are, in my opinion, two possibilities: a path of shadow and a path of light. It's only my opinion, I could be wrong, but either we're going to call upon dark forces and feed on blood and perform very, very dark rituals, or there is alchemy. But alchemists are rare, or at least well hidden, because they are hunted by the forces of darkness that want wealth and eternal life. This alchemical path is esoteric, hidden from the general public, made accessible only by initiates in the greatest secrecy. But secrecy is not the only protection. The path itself can only be walked by people with pure hearts, meaning in reality true humans and not degenerate psychopaths, the soulless ones who seek eternal life. Their problem is that they have no real intelligence, only malice. They are very literal-minded. They don't understand that the children of God are eternal in the sense of the soul, and that for them, physical death is merely a passage. Okay, so I don't know if these pseudo-elite people are concretely immortal, but I imagine that you too have visited castles and other old buildings, and often the highlight was the torture chamber, as at the Tower of London, or the Château de Loches in France, the Maison Forte de Reignac, the Château de Bouillon or Beerzel in Belgium, Prague Castle, etc. And what I noticed doing this research is that it's complicated, very few photos to find, AI getting things wrong and contradicting itself, historians who deny their existence but whose identity we don't know. You know, like the specialists often cited in the press without knowing who they are. It's always very convenient for discrediting things. So all these torture chambers, if you want to obtain confessions from a prisoner, a bucket of water or a few blades and pliers are enough. Pushing the madness to the point of permanent rooms with elaborate tools just shows a massive sadistic obsession, that's clear. And it seems that the so-called elites everywhere on Earth had this macabre impulse. Sacrifices are found everywhere and in every era. In the West, in the East, in pre-Columbian America and post-Columbian. Stories like that of Dracula, the stories of necropants in Iceland, or the rite of Xipe Totek, which consists of removing the skin of the sacrificed person and wearing it until decomposition. No normally constituted human being can do that. And in contemporary history, we have Ed Gein, the serial killer who did the same, wear the skin of his victims. But it seems that outside of isolated serial killers, or at least supposedly isolated ones, like Jack the Ripper, outside of isolated figures, it's recurrent in the highest spheres. It is indeed these pseudo-elites who wage wars, these organized massacres. And are there seriously still people who think this black magic and these sacrifices are ancient history? Seriously? When you see the conflicts, the genocides, the number of people who disappear every day, people finding piles of shoes in caves, or macabre deposits in deserts. When I was young, I was passionate about stories of Atlantis, but I wondered why such an advanced society would have been destroyed by a flood or a cataclysm that sank entire continents. Either these floods are natural events, random or cyclical, or they are divine punishments or cleansings, because the level of immorality has been exceeded. So when I hear stories of Tartaria, of a great society so evolved and developed, but which was supposedly eradicated, I wonder whether that society was truly so evolved, beautiful and just, where everyone lived in balance and peace, or whether in fact all these incredible buildings found everywhere are not each time societies that were eradicated by divine justice because they strayed too far from nature and practiced vice at every level. I've said it before, but when I look at Gothic architecture, I find it oppressive, dominating and crushing. When I see their positioning on terrestrial energy points or copying celestial alignments, I get the impression of dealing with parasites or copycats. I feel that if one wanted to benefit from the good of these key energetic points of the Earth, it would be enough to go there and meditate. No need to build temples on top of them, especially since today we see that there are other buildings also built at these spots, like nuclear power plants, etc. After that, it's only a theory. Everyone seems to idealize an erased past. But maybe we're wrong, since we've been completely disconnected from everything. Maybe since the beginning of time, there have been men, sons of God, living on the planet in harmony with nature, like the Aborigines, the Native Americans, the Celts, well, all the free peoples native to their regions. And each time they get dominated by a part of the population that is soulless and always wants to impose its force and domination. Always this empire with the eagle as its emblem, wanting to unify, or rather uniformize and dominate free peoples. In any case, seeing this Epstein file coming out today and the lack of public reaction in the face of the atrocity of these revelations, I tell myself that humanity actually has Stockholm Syndrome. It has been so martyred, so crushed and uprooted that it no longer has the strength to react, and even makes itself complicit by looking away from something it doesn't know how to fight. And when one wonders what can be done against such an enemy that possesses armies, all the money in the world, all the resources, etc., I think the best question to ask is, what do they fear? The answer is surely there. And we see that they try to poison us, to desensitize us with the news, but also with films, the legitimization of past crimes and wars. But also they hide. They are afraid of being seen, like in The Wizard of Oz. I think the best thing to do is to expose them and look them in the face and say, no, we're not playing your twisted and corrupt game anymore. They need our collaboration because they have no creative power. That is what they envy in us. We must stop collaborating and live healthily, as I believe the ancient peoples did, but also the Cathars, the Zoroastrians, the Essenes, the Sufis, etc. All these spiritual and philosophical currents that were crushed because they were too liberating for human beings. And what gives me a little hope is that we seem to see an evolution in the remnants of these civilizations. The first standing stones, erected on the energetic points of the Earth, were rudimentary and ended up giving way to increasingly sophisticated buildings, and today we have technology that they try to use against us, but which allows us to communicate, explore, calculate, archive, compare, etc. And then also the stories of the ages of gold, silver, bronze, and iron that lead back once again to a golden age. It is said that we would be at the end of the Iron Age, and that makes sense in relation to what I just said. There has been an evolution over millennia, but in fact, it is the forces of evil that have been progressing. I have always compared these malevolent forces to rot. The Golden Age would be like a plant in full health. Then it, or its fruit, falls and putrefies more and more until it becomes the fertilizer of another plant or Golden Age. And we would be the seeds inside the fruit that must hold on until the moment of germination and create a new plant or a new world. So, are those people eternal? I don't know, but they seem to serve something that is, and in any case, seeing the forces of evil and not allowing oneself to be corrupted is the only path that seems sure and effective to me. Keep informing yourselves, keep fighting for truth and freedom. Stay dignified, strong, and honorable. See you in a future video, and as always, walk in peace, brother.